journalists.
Meanwhile, joining us right now is a Lawfare senior counsel, Gerard Filitti, and former federal prosecutor Doug Burns. Doug, your thoughts here?
My thoughts echo a lot of what you heard all afternoon on your air, which is that it's interesting.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Doug. Let's listen to this question and answer here. I'm sorry.
They're conducting a review now. You saw that they've announced a special counsel. That issue would be for them to speak to.
Can you speak broadly to the national security concerns about having classified documents in private spaces?
The president has spoken to how seriously he takes the handling of classified documents, and he, as somebody who's aware of the process myself, did exactly the right thing, which is to have them immediately turned over. And that's where this appropriately lies. And again, the Justice Department would be the place to go to answer your question.
So I have one question on Japan, then maybe one on Ukraine. On Japan, are they going to be discussing the semiconductor exports to China and efforts to restrict those exports? Is that going to be a topic? And do you see this as very important?
All right,
to have
we're going to get out of this because I think we saw just about Kat.
I think that's about it. Yeah, they're deferred, of course. John Kirby deferred to the special counsel, to the Justice Department. Any questions you have about the documents should be directed to the Justice Department and the special counsel, as we anticipated.
Yes, and by design.
We know, yep.
And it is notable that this question went to John Kirby. There are a lot of people that feel Karine Jean-Pierre is not really quick on her feet.
Maybe
with
over her head.
Some on these topics that are very, it's right on
serious.
Serious. Yeah. Let's get back to Doug. Doug, continue your thoughts or wherever you want to go with this.
No, I was just saying that, the Democrats went full bore on Donald Trump. They went way over the ski tips. They took something that is often a civil violation under the Records Act, and they started throwing the term espionage around. They started suggesting or insinuating that he was selling material with no proof, I might throw in sarcastically, using the word nuclear in media reports. And now, and again, I'm not coming at this politically. I'm just telling you legally, it's incredibly ironic because now the sarcastic argument is you're the one who set up this standard, and the standard, just to repeat it in the law school classroom, is mere possession of this type of information is horrible and terrible and criminal, and we're going to apply that standard now to you.
Gerard, your thoughts?
Well, the funny thing is that when you look at criminal prosecutions, you need not just to have documents there, you need to have some knowledge or intent to remove those documents. If the White House hadn't pushed so hard, if the Democrats hadn't pushed so hard to have a special counsel, an investigation on Trump, they would not now be in a position where they're looking at a special counsel for essentially the same thing. It's really disgusting that they think that, you can apply the law to one party and not the other. Equal protection under the law means that everyone's treated the same. Everyone has the same rights, and the law applies equally. So this is a very valid investigation if they're going after Donald Trump. This is not to say that any of this is going to go anywhere, but Attorney General Garland did the right thing in appointing a special counsel to look at this, and it's very important that both parties be treated fairly.
Doug, again, I've mentioned this earlier. I'm skeptical by nature. When I hear a story that documents were found in a garage, I kind of wonder, really? They say lawyers found them. I don't know that they technically said lawyers found them, but he was made aware of them. Like if somebody's cleaning out a garage, you don't call the lawyers.
Wait a minute, let me call my lawyer.
Whoever's home
I found that
is,
Christmas tree stand.
Right.
Hang on.
So it just, is there an advantage to saying something's in a garage versus something in someone's personal office where they've said today they did find at least one document?
It would seem to me a huge disadvantage to say that it's in the
Okay, another question on the documents. Doug?
I'm not aware of any such discussions or concerns.
Alex in the back.
Thank you. The family and supporters of Russian dissident Alexei Navalny are increasingly concerned about
Doug, again, I apologize.
We keep thinking we're going to get something, but I don't think we are.
And we want to make sure that everybody knows
miss
we're staying on it. And I don't mean any disrespect to you, sir. Continue your thought.
I'm used to getting interrupted at home a lot, Bob. But the point is, no, I think it's disadvantageous about the garage for the point you made. Seems like a simple point, but you said a garage opens so the car can leave and come in, and you made a great point. That makes it much less secure. And I think, the pundits and the experts all afternoon have been pointing out that it was ill-advised for the president to really make comments about this. He did what he often does, which is sort of ad-libbing or off the cuff. I think it was a mistake. But again, to my colleague, he's right. I mean, the key here is equal application of everything in both directions, regardless of politics. To echo Professor Dershowitz, who I admire quite a bit, you don't want to criminalize or weaponize politics in either direction. But you know what? If you're going to set up this impossible, brutal standard of you're horrible, horrible, and terrible what you did, and then you're caught doing the same thing, I mean, most jurors, little common sense would be like, well, wait a minute. Now he's got to live by the rules he created.
Gerard, Rick Gates was on a bit earlier, and he said the timing is incredibly suspect. We heard Tom Basile suggest similar. Your thoughts?
Well, the timing, if I understand the facts correctly, is that the first discovery came out before the election, and we're only really just hearing about this now. So that begs the question, why wasn't this made public sooner? What impact would it have had on the election, on the last 2 months of national discourse, if people had been aware of this and had been pushing for an investigation and full disclosure? And the other thing that it brings to mind is, what else don't we know? We don't yet know the full extent of what documents there were, what other issues that need to be looked into. I think it's going to be very important for Congress to pick up the slack where the Justice Department isn't handling in terms of documents. I think, as Rob said before the break, it's also interesting with Ukraine. It's also interesting with Hunter Biden. It's interesting that the vice president had in his possession, apparently, documents pertaining to Ukraine, which make no sense in him having. So there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, either to the special prosecutor or to a congressional committee.
Yeah, lots of questions, and as we can see, not getting very many answers from White House Press Secretary or from John Kirby. But we do appreciate your insight, Gerard Filitti and Doug Burns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll continue.